This is your dose of daily market wisdom with master trader Nick Santiago. Starting from humble beginnings, Nick has been beating the markets for over 2 decades. He shares with you his take on the profitable trades that will have you moving towards financial freedom in no time at all. To see an in-depth review of his track record and much more, go to inthemoneystocks.com. Welcome. This is your daily dose of daily market wisdom with master trader Nick Santiago. I'm Kerry Lutz. Today's 12/9/22, show number 445. So markets are under pressure again this morning, Nick?
Yeah, Kerry. Lately, we're seeing a lot of weak Monday sessions, and then the market seemed to rally back throughout the week. You know, everyone is now waiting on the FOMC meeting, which is actually going to be next Wednesday, and they're really trying to get a sense of what Jay Powell's sense or what he's looking to do going forward. In my opinion, this is still a bear market rally, and there are a lot of major hurdles ahead. The one thing I'd like to tell everybody, though, is watch the volume. If we have a high volume sell-off, I would, be a little bit on the cautious side. Right now, the volume is still pretty light, even in today's little decline.
Right. So light volume, and that light volume, since we've been talking, has historically favored the bullish side rather than the bearish.
That's correct. Light volume favors the bullish side. So when you get a light volume sell-off after a major move like we've had, it really is not a big deal. It's just a natural pullback. But if you get a high volume reversal, then it's telling you, hey, maybe the tide is turning and the markets are ready to resume their downside ways. But I'm not seeing that today.
Yeah, so volume used to be that volume was high volume and the market going up was bullish. But we haven't seen that in a while.
Well, it still is, because think about it. If you look at the market bottom that occurred on October 13th, that had 140 million shares traded in the spiders. That's a high volume day. And then the market has had pullbacks, but it never made a new low. And then if you look at the recent run here where we had the Jay Powell pivot, that was on November 30th. That had 144 million shares traded in the spiders. And that was to the upside. So what you do is you get these light volume pullbacks and then higher volume new highs. And that tells you, that's a good indication to tell you that the market can go higher. So, it works both ways. As long as you have your breakouts on high volume, that's a bullish sign. If you get your pullbacks on light volume, that's a bullish sign. But when you get a reversal to the downside on heavy volume, that is a very, very bearish sign. So, volume trends is a little bit of some knowledge you have to have behind them. It's not just so simple as light volume just go up, even though that is normally the case. But we have seen high volume moves to the upside on occasions here.
All right. So all eyes are on Powell. I mean, if this guy is an egomaniac, man, he's got to be in his heyday, right?
Well, I got to say, this guy has basically had to deal with some wild stuff, right? So, you think about it. He went on that transitory parade for, basically 6 months to a year. Everything is transitory. Now he had to say it's not transitory. And then he had to go on this, rate hike cycle that he's currently in. And then all of a sudden you get this FTX collapse in crypto, and now he's back to, hey, maybe we're going to go slower. So, he's dealing with a lot of curveballs being thrown at him. For me, I'm never smart enough to figure any of that stuff out. That's why I have to use charts.
Right. All right. Well, hey, it's like he could be the most popular guy in the world or the most unpopular guy, but you got to be paying attention to him. So what's our deal with oil here? EU announcing price caps is just the definition of insanity, isn't it?
It absolutely is. I just look at it and I say, wow, this world just gets more and more upside down every day that I wake up. And again, it's just baffling to me that they come out with these things. It's just crazy. And the European Union is a place that needs Russian oil right now. There is no alternative. So I just chuckle at it, and we'll just see how it goes. But I mean, these people are crazy.
It's not going to go well. That you could be sure of, right?
No, that's absolutely right. And oil is up today a little bit. They also had an OPEC plus meeting out there. They they kept their production the same, but they said, hey, we may even cut production down the road. And if they cut, obviously oil will go higher. I'm kind of bummed I missed this latest move in oil, but I'm waiting for pattern again. And if we even make a new low, I would jump all over it. So, again, oil's had a good little pop the last few days.
So let's talk about nat gas. Where's it at now? 5 something?
Yeah, nat gas is getting hit a little bit today, sitting at around 580. But, we talked about last week, Kerry, I said when we got to that 725 area, I said nat gas has hit a little wall here. It's going to need to back off. A lot of times nat gas doesn't just go sideways. It comes in a little bit. But, if I could get nat gas somewhere around the $5 level again, I'm jumping head over heels over it. Now I'll be all in.
All right. Yeah, because it's down like close to 8%. It's been so volatile, and I guess it's going to stay that way regardless, war or no war.
Absolutely. I believe that will be the case. There was a lot of nat gas sent over to Europe, and, there were LNGs sitting in the water there. And, but people don't realize that nat gas goes quick, especially when the winter season hits. We haven't even hit winter yet. I mean, it's only December 5th. So, people are acting like winter's over already, and we haven't even begun.
And it started getting cold. They've had some cold snaps there. Hey, if you want to know how fast nat gas goes, just think how often you change the gas can on your barbecue, and then multiply that times millions, right?
That's right. That's a great analogy. The funny thing was today, the Financial Times came out a little while on the news wires and said, EU has lowered its nat gas demand by 25%. And I just read that and I just chuckled. I didn't really read the article. I just, read the headline and I was like, how did these people come up with this? We haven't even begun the winter season yet. And I've lived in Europe, so I could tell you.
Ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah, I could tell you it gets really, really cold and damp and dreary, and you better have some heat. That's all I can say.
Let me tell you a little secret. I have cut my electric consumption by a third, but it's got nothing to do with what I've done. The weather got cooler out in Florida, so you use less, and the weather stays warm in Europe, and you use less nat gas. So it's not like they actually cut their demand, although there probably is 5 or 10% demand cut there. But all you need for it is to get cold, and you'll see how quickly that evaporates.
Yeah, and if you get a real blast where it gets very, very cold, you're going to see really, really big problems there. And I think that's setting up, unfortunately, for the people there.
Yep, and there's like panic you can kind of feel with nat gas in Europe. It's a real panic. Yeah,
I mean, and this is something that can be fixed and solved so easily. It's baffling to me, what kind of leaders we have in the world today. It's really baffling.
Non-leaders, total non-leaders. Yeah. So, but I talked to some guy recently who was head of I think he was a vice president and general counsel at one point of the United States Propane Association. So this is a guy who's wired, DC inside the Beltway guy his whole life. And, nobody is serious about energy. That's what it comes down to. Do you know how much it costs to turn on a light in your house? Really? It costs like $3 trillion because the infrastructure to carry that electric charge from where it was generated to where you need it, and then to get the fuel to that point, the generating station. And, we'll just switch to solar right away. What could possibly go wrong? And wind is great. The wind's always blowing, right, Nick?
Yeah, the wind is always blowing. The thing about solar energy is that, and even electric cars, you're not really stopping the use of traditional fuels. What you're doing is you're just exporting. Yeah. You're exporting it.
You're shifting the source.
You're shifting the source. Well said. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I mean, it's you got to chuckle at this stuff, but I guess they could sell it to the people.
Yeah, well, you know what the man said. No one. I think H.L. Mencken said it. no one ever went broke underestimating the intelligence of the American public, right?
Well said. Well,
Yeah.
well said.
Yeah, so precious metals, they had a real banger last week, and now they're pulling back, which is kind of what you'd expect, right?
Yeah, and that's kind of the reason why I sold out of my silver trade. I got out of that pretty much near the highs. And today we have silver down, over 3% today. Gold is pulling back also, but I think the gold pattern, Kerry, still looks pretty strong. It's only down 1%. I think gold can make a move here. GLD, I know a lot of people follow that, but if you're looking at gold futures, I still think this is going to make a run for 1850, maybe even 1875 before it goes into its correction mode. So all in all, gold could have a little bit more upside, but silver had such an amazing run going from, basically silver futures went as low as $16 and went all the way up to, I'm sorry, under $18. Let me just make sure I got my price right. Yeah, it went as low as 17, right? And made its way up almost
17,
to 23 and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. 1744 to 2366. I mean, what a move in just, from September 1st. So it needs a breather. It needs even to correct a little bit. So, I never get out at the dead top. I get out near the top, what I can perceive to be. And that's what I did. I took it off the table. But we had 190% worth of in options trades in 5 options. I mean, it's just unheard of, unprecedented. And that's not including my swing trade profits that, we really scored and hit there. But and this is going to be done again. A lot of traders don't realize this, but we're going to do this whole scenario over on the next pullback here. So again, get ready for that. That was a home run this year.
And hey, a couple of things. We had actually a question from somebody on the your statement that silver was going to race, but gold isn't ready to move yet. And I can't find the person here, but they want to know why the disconnect basically between silver and gold.
It's
is
a great
that possible?
Yeah, of course it's possible. We've seen it so many times. I mean, just look at the gold to silver ratio. It's been out of whack for so long. So of course it's possible. And it happens. For me, Kerry, I wish I could give a more definitive answer of why, but I don't know why. What I do is I use charts, I use mathematics, and I let those numbers come to me. And when those numbers tell me, hey, this is where the reversals will take place, that's when I jump in. So, anybody that knows my style, it's usually finding these pivot points and I find where the turns are going to take place. And that's where I try to make my money. But gold is not satisfied its downside objective yet. But when it does, I guarantee you after this run and it goes back lower, everybody's going to say, no, I'm not getting into gold. But that's when you're going to need to get into it. So we see we see how this plays out. The fear and greed plays out in the markets over and over again. And it'll play out like that one more time where people will be scared to get in it.
Okay, so Martin has a question here. Martin M., you know who you are from YouTube. Good stuff. Thanks, Kerry. Oil looks good, but not oil stocks. Can you ask Nick about it next time, please? Thanks again.
Absolutely. So oil and oil stocks are not the same thing. Remember, when oil stocks run, they already have a set price where they're going to make X amount of dollars over a certain price per barrel. So we'll just use like a stock like, say, Chevron, which has been a really hot stock and still very strong on the charts. This stock has gone, basically in 2020 from, $51 to close to $190 last month. And now it's trading at around 180. The energy stocks are running on making profits. The oil stocks are running on what the futures market and what traders are willing to pay for a barrel. And that stuff can be it can be a bit different because you have people like the cartel, like OPEC, and you have the Biden administration selling oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. You'll have other different nuances going in there manipulating price as well. So they're two different animals. Although the higher oil goes, generally stocks will go higher also because they're producing it, and hopefully with their hedge or however they, maybe they take their hedge off, they can produce better profits. But remember, just like gold miners, oil companies are hedged too. So everybody's hedging in there, and sometimes when the hedge is getting away, that hurts their profitability.
Okay, and right, it's very important to distinguish between a stock and a commodity. Gold prices have been strong recently, and the miners have been in the dumps, which in my opinion makes them a screaming buy, because it's the only value sector left in the market. But again, you have to be careful. Now, Brian C. out there, Brian, I do appreciate your comments here. He's the one who always says gold is a scam. And he elucidates a little more on it, and I can't blame him for what he's saying. PMs are a scam. The only people that want them are boomers that are dying off. People like Doug Casey have been calling for the crash for 40 plus years, and it's never happened. So, you got to understand, Brian, he's not coming from a bad place here. And I do enjoy him saying that gold is a scam. I agree it's a scam until one day, Brian, it's not a scam. And then where are you?
Well, that's the thing. But, as a trader, I hope I don't fall into that category because, when gold was above 2000, I was the one to say, hey, gold is pulling back to 1500. Right. So, as a trader, I just follow price flow and I follow the chart. Overall, if you're going to be a perma bull in anything, I guess you're just going to hold for the rest of your life and that's it. I personally have never sold an ounce of my gold or silver bullion that I purchased when I first got into it back in 2003. And if you just go back and you look at a chart there, I think I paid about $300 an ounce. So still way ahead of the game. Unlike if you were to say buy a stock like Zoom during the COVID crisis and pay nearly $600, now that stock is at $74. Or if you were to go and buy a SPAC, which everybody loved, and now they're almost, some of them are worthless or bankrupt. So, again, the theory behind gold, though, is that you actually have a tangible asset in your possession that you can use and it can be traded for something, right? So in my opinion, it's actual real currency that can't be printed by a central bank from a computer.
Absolutely. Fritz B says, Genesis says there was gold and it is good. So
that's right. I'm going to go with that one myself.
Yeah. Hey, so here's a guy off topic, but we should cover it anyway because it deals directly with interest rates, money supply, QT, all that. I live in Colorado. I call it, my daughter lives there, Lolorado. That's what I call it. And any real estate that is for sale is still hot. There's a construction boom going on here like I have never seen and is going in every direction. I think the west half of the country is slowing down, but not the East Coast. There is a large skilled labor shortage. I don't know about tech. Real estate, I mean, hey, it's directly dependent on rates. Although when you see double-digit inflation, even if rates are high, you're getting a negative return. Well, the bank's getting a negative return on their loans, and you are getting a positive return even after the interest.
Yeah, the thing about real estate, and it is, the locale where you're buying is always, going to fluctuate. But the one thing about real estate this time around, I still think it's got some value to it there. People have to have a place to live. We've seen real estate go up and down. I remember when I started to buy real estate, in 2011, people thought I was absolutely crazy. But again, it can be charted like everything else. So I still think there's another shoe to drop for it to go lower. So again, I don't think it's going to be a 2008 scenario right now for real estate. I think too many people are thinking that, but I do think that we'll see real estate have another severe leg lower. But I'm not looking for them to be like they were back in 2008. So, I mean, all I could take it is from a chartist point of view. And when I look at the charts, I just think there is probably another leg to drop here, but it's not going to be, a 2008 debacle.
All right. I'm buying it. Hey, by the way, somebody wished us a happy Thanksgiving, thanking us for everything that we do. One thing, when you're looking at the notes, the comments on the YouTube channel, somebody has a habit of misappropriating my logo and using that with a WhatsApp number. Don't get taken in by that. I try to remove them, but sometimes it's difficult to keep up with these jokers. So in any event, don't be. Here's one from Darren. It says, FTX folks now working on pensions.
Oh, boy.
And here's one from Nuki. Pavlov had dogs. Powell has pivot hounds. I believe in a long spell with higher rates.
Well, I think he's onto something there. I mean, we're going to just continue to watch the 2-year Treasury note yield. That yield has really, guided me as a market technician. Right now, that yield sits at around 4.34, 4.35%. And that's where the Fed needs to be with their Fed funds rate. So again, they still got some work to do. And if that yield moves higher, they have to go higher as well.
All right. You've been consistent on that. I tend to agree when it comes to charts. There's not many people who are anywhere near your peer, Nick. So finally, I guess we should get to Bitcoin and kleptocurrencies. What's up there?
Yeah, today Bitcoin is flat, so it's really not doing a whole lot today. But there could be some more choppy movement around here. As you know, I still believe there's another shoe to drop from this FTX collapse, and so many others that have collapsed as well. And now you got some of these guys that own these exchanges dropping dead. I mean, this is something right out of a Tom Clancy novel. I don't even look into it too deeply because I would never figure this out. But you got to be careful. You got to be careful with crypto here, and Bitcoin in particular, because I've said it here for a while now. It was going to 13. I've lowered it to 12,000, and I think we're probably even looking at it going into an 11,000 handle at this stage of the game with the pattern that's in place.
I'm buying it. I see your point there, and it reminds me of a few years ago with these exchanges, these guys dropping dead all over the place. If you remember, there was a number of people working for the big banks back in 11 and 12, and they started falling off of buildings and, murders, disappearances, all this. That's what these, it looks like, if you remember when was it? Goodfellas. Oh, no, I'm taking it back. It was Casino. You remember at the end, they say the bosses are under direct threat. So they start like, well, can we trust them or not? You never can tell. Boom, the guy's dead. And
yeah, just clean house.
That's what whoever is really pulling the strings in these kleptos looks like they're cleaning house now. And hey, but I'm a conspiracy theorist, so what do we know, Nick? Right? It's all a coincidence.
Yeah, I mean, you can't make this stuff up. This stuff's stranger than fiction, right? Like, when you look at it, sometimes you just shake your head and say, "Wow, I don't even want to know anymore about that. This is insane." But you have to look at it and say, "Wow, this is really, going on." And then you got that one guy, I forget his name, he was killed in Puerto Rico, and they said he drowned. And he was, a couple of days before, he says his girlfriend is a spy and she's going to kill him. And next thing you know, he's down. I mean, this is crazy. This is just unheard of stuff. And, whenever I see something like that going on, I just shake my head and say, wow, thank goodness I just use charts. I don't know any of this stuff.
It's just conspiracy theories there, Nick. That's all it is. You know that. And I know. None of it's really happening. It's just your imagination running away. So
that's it.
All right. Well, that's it for today. Make sure you go over to Nick's site, inthemoneystocks.com. See how he's been beating the indices for decades. See his latest calls. He's had half a dozen major major calls, and the Twitter feeds at ITMS, at Nick Santiago01, at Kerry Lutz. Emails welcome, kl@kerrylutz.com. Keep posting your comments on the YouTube channel, and we will get to them on a more regular basis. Nick, we will talk to you on Wednesday.
Sounds good, Kerry.